Yo, what's going on, your boy Ghost here, and today I bring us another comparison video between the M4 and Kilo. Now, before we get into it, I want to say we are currently at 645 subscribers. So if you guys could do me the favor and hit that subscribe button so we could reach the goal of 700, that I'd be very appreciated. Also, if you find this video useful or informative, hit that like button down below. It really helps out the channel. And yeah, let's get into it. So this comparison, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised that has not been done. Something similar along the lines of this has been done, but not specifically at M4 and Kilo. And if you guys, like I said in my last video, do not know, the Growl is going to be receiving a nerf very soon. And by soon I mean probably in the mid-season, which is like in a week or two. And I believe that the M4 is going to come back to meta, and then the Kilo is also going to rise into meta. Now the Kilo has kind of no place in the meta scale in Warzone. For the most part, for the entirety of Warzone, has been underrated, and up until recently it's starting to get more recognition. And it's one of those weapons that I am very surprised is not used very often. I think it could compete with the M4. Absolutely could compete with the M4. And actually, I'm going to put up the in-game statistics right now. And as you can see, the Kilo has more damage, range, and control, while the M4 has more mobility, accuracy, and fire rate. And if you saw by those bars, they are not very far apart. These weapons are very similar statistically. By those bars, they are very similar, with one gun having an advantage over the other by a slight margin. And honestly, in-game, they feel about the same. And honestly, it's very surprising to me. It's shocking to me that I haven't seen this weapon be used very often. And now I'm going to get into the recoil pattern for the Kilo. And here we have a base Kilo and its recoil pattern. Now I'm not going to lie, this shit right here, probably my fault, had a lot of recoil. But then obviously when you put on the attachments, or I guess my class setup, it becomes more of a beamer. Now when I first used the Kilo a while back, because I have a video with the M13 and Kilo, when I used it at that time period, I didn't have the correct class setup. I had a class setup that still had a little bit of recoil, and for far range it was okay. But then here we have the class setup that I use now. The VOK optic sight has been a life changer for many of these weapons that I've used. With the Kilo, I was using a different class setup a while ago, and I played it one game, but dropped a 20 bomb with it, but it was very, very slow. And I don't mind being slow because I have an MP5, but the problem is sometimes you get in those engagements where you don't have enough time to switch to your SMG, and that's when you're gonna need your primary weapon to be somewhat viable and the speed to be able to outgun an SMG. Now I personally can outgun SMGs with whatever weapon. It's just a matter of the circumstance, not necessarily the head-on battle. That's besides the point. This weapon right here, damage wise, is again statistically higher than the M4, and even if it doesn't feel like that in game, it's very similar. You know what I'm saying? The damage, you don't take any damage, I guess. You don't lose damage when you use the Kilo. You're not going to be shooting marshmallows when you use the Kilo instead of an M4. The mobility as well is pretty quick. I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, I can't remember the bars right now, I'm pretty sure I had it faster by a little bit than M4. And it does feel pretty fast, especially with this class setup. Now, like I said before, I had a class setup that was pretty slow, and it was really slow. But this one right here is very quick. And I found myself killing people at close range, medium range, far range. It was a very versatile weapon, especially with the VOK. Now, if you were to take off the VOK sight and have an iron sight Kilo, I would not prefer it over an M4. If I had to rock an iron sight Kilo or an iron sight M4, I would prefer iron sight M4. And not because of the iron sight, it's mostly because of the attachment configuration that I have. Like, I'm not running no stock on a Kilo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I might try it out one day, because you never know, but I just wouldn't run it. I would rather have a sight on my Kilo. The iron sight itself, also, there's been a lot, I've heard a lot of complaints about the iron sight itself. And personally, I don't have a problem with the iron sight. I like it, but some people might, or a lot of people don't enjoy it. Same with the M4, but the M4 kind of has interchangeable iron sights, but we'll get into that later. But this Kilo, from what I know, it only has one iron sight no matter what variant you use. And peep this little nasty peek right here. And, you know, quite frankly, I would just put a sight on this gun. And obviously, right now, the hottest sight out there is the VOK. I would 100% recommend it. I was like a non-believer at first, but then I started using it a lot more, and I really like the sight now. But again, if you don't like this VOK, you know, it's all personal preference at the end of the day. Try to find a sight that'll suit you without negating your aim down speed, because that's one of the reasons why I picked the VOK, because I've used a variety of sights on the Kilo, and either they were too slow or I had to give up an attachment, or it was something, man. But I found that the VOK was more successful for me. Obviously, you could test out other sights, and that's all up to you. Again, personal preference. And yeah, let me know what sight you go with in the comment section down below. So now we're gonna go into the recoil pattern for an M4. And here we have the recoil pattern for a base M4. Now, I kind of fucked up on this, not gonna lie, as I always do with these things. This thing shoots all over the place. Not to say, though, the base M4 actually does have a pretty decent amount of recoil. And even its M4 with attachments, it also has a pretty decent amount of recoil. It's not, compared to a Kilo, it's not completely noticeable, because they're both kind of shaky at very far distances. But they're still very good because of the damage. Now, I actually used two class setups during the making of this video. I prefer now, I start running more my iron sight class setup over my VOK class setup for the M4. But if you want range, I would 100% recommend a VOK on your M4 instead of the no stock, which is what I run usually. Here is my no stock class though. I enjoy this a lot. Like I said in my last video, I prefer I forgot the barrel name, the Corvus Marksman or whatever, over the stock M16 Grenadier, because it's a lot quicker. You do lose a little bit of range and a little bit of recoil control, but I just like the speed of it, and honestly, I don't miss the stock M16 Grenadier. And I love the M4. The M4 is by far my favorite weapon in Modern Warfare. I've loved using it since the start, and I still use it now. And I've replaced this over the Grau. I no longer use the Grau anymore. I don't have any class setups with the Grau, because I think it's a cheesy weapon, but that's whatever. But like I said earlier in my video, the iron sights of this weapon is interchangeable. Now, there's like 3 or 4 that I've seen used over the course of a Warzone. And so if you don't like the default one, you might have a variant that could switch your iron sight to make it more suitable for you. Now, you know, again, so if you didn't know that iron sights change with the variants, you know, now you know. You might go under the... When you go for a creative class, there's the little option to pick your variants. Go test it out, see if you have any, see if you like any of them better than the base one, and you know, go with it. I though personally love the base iron sight. I don't see anything wrong with it. I could rock it. Some people can't though. That's how it is. But back to the Kilo, some people again don't like the Kilo's iron sight, and the problem with that one is again it does not have, or from what I know, it doesn't have a variant like the M4 that changes its iron sight. And that kind of sucks, because I feel like, you know, some people might want to use the Kilo but don't want to use the iron sight. But again, like I said, though, I still would prefer a VOK on it. It's still really good at close range with the VOK. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't lose anything. But if you want to rock it with no sight, you know what I'm saying? It's not that bad. I mean, come on, it's really not. It's usable. It's usable. But all in all, I feel like both these weapons. Like, the M4, bottom line, is gonna be a weapon that comes back into meta. It's literally the second best AR in the game, or, I mean, it's the second most universal used AR in the game. Statistically, it might not be the, like, second best, but, like, you know, universally, in Warzone, it is the second most used, for sure. No debate. And the Kilo, honestly, I wouldn't say it's the third most used. I think the M13 is, even though I haven't seen that many. Well, actually, that's a lie. I've seen more M13s in recent days, but the M13 or the Kilo, it's gonna be a weapon that I would be very aware, pay attention to it, because again, if you take away the Grau, right, the gun that everyone uses, it's gonna allow for more diversity, for a lot more experimentation, if you will. And I think that the Kilo, and it's being used a lot by big streamers, because again, I have a very strong belief that streamers and YouTubers dictate meta sometimes. And I mean, you might not disagree with me on that. I personally believe that. But again, I feel like big streamers and big YouTubers have a very big voice when it comes to meta. I mean, if you think about it, all of them use Graus. What is the state of Warzone right now? Graus. Before the ground came into meta, all of them were using M4s. What was the meta back then? M4s, MP7. Like, bro, I'm telling you, if a YouTuber hops on this wave or a streamer starts hopping on this wave, and I've seen a lot of streamers start using this weapon, not consistently, but you know, the occasional kilo game, I think this weapon's gonna come into meta as well. I'm telling you right now, mark my words. When the ground nerf comes, the kilo is going to be the second most used AR. It's gonna be, how do I put this? It's gonna be what the M4 is now. So the M4 is number 2. This kilo is gonna become number 2, unless the ground doesn't get like completely destroyed and it's still like very, you know, okay to be used, which I kind of hope not. But you know, it's my own opinion. So let me know what gun you prefer and why. Also, if you have not used the kilo yet and you decide to pick it up after this video, please let me know your experiences down below. And yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.